So if you're excited by seeing the auto-tuning, play with these trips, right? This isn't a huge database. You can set this up on a little developer edition instance and play around with all sorts of things. You can also do things like try unforcing the plan yourself, try manually forcing your own things in Query Store. There is a lot of fun to be had here. Here's my starter pack for automatic plan correction. And the things that go into this are some observations. So as we saw, that automatic plan correction is temporary, and that's for good reason. Maybe data changing means that, hey, we could get something even faster now. This is really a temporary safety net. If we do enable auto-tuning, it will kick in sometimes and help us sometimes, but if there is ever an auto-tuning we want to ever manually undo, it's not permanent. It can come back and auto-tune it again. So if we want to use auto-tuning, we need to be in 100%. We need to really want it to auto-tune. And when we're looking at reports on there, the checkboxes indicate, is something actively being auto-tuned right now? It may be that the plan that that the query you're looking at has been auto-tuned in the past, and to tell that, you need to look at plan properties and look for use plan equals true. So with all this info, here's my take on this. The first thing to do, if you're on 2017, make sure that you're comfortable running Query Store and are getting some data in that as the first part. That should be its own separate change. Erin Stellato of SQL Skills has a great blog post where she walks you through every setting on Query Store, talks about what the default value is, whether she uses a different value, and the considerations on how to set that for your own database. So if you haven't set up Query Store yet, I would start with Erin's recommendations, like look through all those settings and work on that change to get Query Store in play in a read-write mode. It is per database. And then the rest of this is if you have Enterprise Edition. If you have Enterprise Edition, I would just start looking at those tuning recommendations, right? Just like without enabling auto-tuning. With Enterprise Edition, it'll start showing up those recommendations. Just start looking at them and looking at the queries yourself. For critical databases where people are not going to like big fluctuations in performance, I wouldn't just turn on auto-tuning. Because as you saw, things can be fast, things can be slow. But for less critical databases, if I have Enterprise Edition and it's a less critical database, I am going to be much more open to just saying, yeah, auto-tune some stuff, and I'll come around and periodically review it. I'm not going to look at it every day, but I'll periodically review it and see, okay, this stuff is being auto-tuned. I want to make a change to stabilize it so that it doesn't have to be auto-tuned. If I have Standard Edition, I want to set up Query Store, and then I want to start looking at those queries that have the high variation. And I like to do that with the CPU time metric based on standard deviation. And that'll help show, okay, these are the queries where they have very varying runtimes. Sometimes they're slow and sometimes they're fast. And you can look at what the plans are for those and manually yourself figure out, okay, how can I stabilize this? Because in Standard Edition or anything other than Enterprise and Developer, I don't get those nice suggestions in the DMV for me. So thank you guys for attending today. Thank you for all the great questions. I really, really like this topic. I'm going to start looking through the comments. Hi, Esther. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. John says, what are the options for Standard Edition? The options for Standard Edition are writing T-SQL against Query Store, using the reports for Query Store. I do really like that high variation report as a workaround, right? I'm glad we have that. Great question from Lizzie. Is this only available on primary replicas in an AG since it uses Query Store? Yes. Now, in a session that passed with Erin and the member of the product group, whose name I really wish I could remember, but I can't. The member of the product group said it's on the roadmap to somehow get Query Store on readable secondaries in availability groups. So there was much optimism in the room. But as of this moment, yes, we only have Query Store on the primary replicas, and so we do not have auto-tuning on secondary replicas. Thank you so much, folks, for joining. I really had fun on this one. All right, so I'm going to head out. I will see you guys in a couple of weeks, and thanks for joining me today. Bye, folks.